Ladies and gentlemen, this is David Mirikatani with another episode of Matt Chat. We're brought to you by USA Wrestling, the national governing body for wrestling in the United States, and by Nike Wrestling. Go to athleteps.com for all of your Nike and USA Wrestling branded gear. Like the gear my next guest is wearing, it's very smart, very good. He's on brand, on point. The newest world team member at 125 kilograms, Hayden Zillmer. Hayden, thanks so much for coming on with me.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm sure it's been a whirlwind. I'm sure a lot of people are reaching out to you. I'll just start with this. How does it feel? I'm guessing it's sunk in now, right? That you're going to represent your country at the biggest tournament in the world. I mean, people don't understand the worlds are probably harder to win in the Olympics. That's what John Smith told me. So how does that feel to be the guy?
It's amazing. It's just amazing to, throw on the singlet and represent the red, white, and blue in the greatest country in the world. So, and I got to be the guy to go try winning a medal. It's amazing. I've been trying to do this stuff for a long time, for 6 years or so. And finally, I kind of cracked the spot. Pretty amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I will say this. There's two things people should know up front. I met you a couple years ago. I was going up to Minnesota. I was with Becker and Slater, and we were going to do a Minnesota border brawl, and that's when COVID canceled nationals. But I was up there in the fall, and there's a real thing about Minnesota nice, how nice you guys actually are up there. That's a real thing. Yes. I walked in, and I think you and Brandvold were lifting weights, and you had like 80-pound dumbbells in your hand, and you just put the one in your right hand down, kept doing whatever you were doing in your left hand, and just shook hands. I was like, my God, that is a strong human being.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No. We kind of we went on a stint there where we were training hard like that. And, like you said, Minnesota nice. So I feel whenever somebody walks in the door, we shake their hand and introduce ourselves to them. And it's pretty awesome. So
yeah, you guys are awesome. The other thing is this, you can go back and check. I picked you to win. I picked you to win in 3 matches. I was the only guy to do it.
I appreciate that.
I know why I thought you would win. Okay. But the podcast is not about me. It's about you. Why do you think, I know we talked earlier, you were on Bader's show. I've known Mark forever. I don't want to just go through match by match and scramble by scramble kind of thing. Why, when obviously you had to have a plan to win, you had to believe you could win. What were the sort of things that you said, well, this is why I can beat Gwiz and be the guy?
Me and Gwiz wrestled back in February in Turkey. And when we were wrestling that match, I felt like I had an opportunity to win, that match. Even I lost 3-0 then, but just sometimes when you walk off the mat, you just feel like you didn't give it everything you had. And in this series, the first match, I lost 5-0. And, I walked off the mat and I felt like I had a lot more to give. And, things had to come into play. I had to go and attack. I had to, engage and maybe get a takedown or something like that, But, the big thing is I grew as a competitor throughout the series, and a lot of times that's how it works, wrestling. The best wrestlers can adapt to the environment and find a way to win. And, after I got that first takedown in the second match, I just felt like I was excelling, and I felt like I just instilled a belief in me. And, it was amazing that, the fight that we had and everything like that, but we just kind of made each other a little bit better, and he made me better, and I rose to the occasion, and I, capitalized. So, that was kind of the biggest thing for me. Just getting that one takedown and instilling that belief in me, and kind of kept the motor running. And I was never worried about the cardio or the conditioning side of things. I'm kind of got a motor myself, and it's kind of an advantage to me.
Yeah. Well, you said something in there which is a little surprising to me. You said you didn't give it everything you had in the match you had in Turkey. That surprises me, just because all the guys I've watched from Minnesota, and usually most guys at a senior level anyway, but like obviously you guys aren't undefeated, but it never feels like it's for lack of effort. So did you feel like you literally didn't give it everything you had, or just the stuff you were doing didn't work?
Yep, exactly. Stuff like that didn't work, and it was almost like in the match, I seen myself, taking a shot and maybe a different attack was there, and I just wasn't capitalizing on them opportunities, and going back after watching film on that stuff, I just felt like I wasn't, I didn't capitalize. And, the first match of the series, the Final X series, I kind of let him control a lot of those positions, and I was, like I said on the show yesterday, I was super stubborn, and I kept going to the same attack, kept going back to it. Next thing you know, I figured out how to attack and how to score off of it. By the third match, I shot a low shot, and sure enough, I came up, so he couldn't cross lift me, and I was in a spot to score, and I did score, and that kind of put me in a spot to go score again and to win the match. So that's just kind of what I'm saying. I didn't give it everything I had, but you walk off, you have more to give. It's like, golly, that's a tough spot to be, and thinking that way. But the biggest thing is in that best 2 of 3 series is you get a second chance, and you get to capitalize on that, and you get to prove yourself, and you get another shot, and it's kind of amazing, and it worked out in my advantage.
Yeah, we had Seth Gross on a couple of weeks ago, and I think you guys are obviously the 2 big surprises probably of the men's freestyle team. And it's the same thing. You talked about adjustments. So you mentioned watching film. So we have a lot of coaches and a lot of young wrestlers that watch this pod. I think we have a kind of a niche audience that way. When you watch film, I remember when I was a kid, my dad's a college coach, and he would let me watch it once by myself, and then he would watch it with me and break it down. And as I got older, I understood the first time wasn't just to have fun. It was actually to do some self-breakdown, and ideally be your own harshest critic. So by the time the second guy comes in, he hasn't told you a lot you don't know. Were you literally breaking down what you could, instead of asking this yes, no, what were you doing the first time you watched the film?
So for me, film's a little different, so I think, and I coach a lot of kids and stuff, where I think for me personally, if I watch film and I focus on the other person and what they're doing and how they're attacking, I maybe will wrestle so I don't get that attack, or I get it, somehow, or I'm just defending that. And I don't worry about my own situation, so I'll almost just kind of give them more respect. So when I'm watching film, just kind of figure out, hey, he's doing this, we got to capitalize here. This is what you got to do. So yeah, just areas of attacks that I need to improve on, throughout the match, just probably not shooting up underneath them where his size kind of could use would be an advantage to me, just being a smaller heavyweight. So it was all basically small little adjustments and just little things that I needed to do to capitalize throughout the match. Nothing major. Maybe that first attack that he tacked on me, the little single leg, it was kind of a whatever great attack on his part, but just those situations like that maybe wouldn't happen to me, and then maybe later in the match tendencies of what he was doing, and yeah, so. And I think that's kind of goes for everybody on match film. But some people, maybe like you said, your dad would make you watch it first, and then kind of they dig in together, But yeah, I actually didn't even watch it. It was almost just like little clips or whatever that they're like, hey, when you were here, and I remembered the situation, But
like Eggum and those guys were helping you with it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yep. Dustin, Troy Steiner, and Randvold were there to kind of help me out with that, and just kind of giving me all their little input on what they had, so.
Yeah, your staff, which we'll come back to, is low key great, man. Like so much wisdom on your coaching staff over there. So I'm gonna tell you why I picked you. Okay, like it's like sort of, I'd say 2/3 you, 1/3 him. The part of with him is I'm like, he's moved into a coach's role. He's doing other things with coaching. Whenever you're not focused 100% on one thing, it's hard to be great at one thing. But here's what I thought. I'm very good friends with Don Bradley. I've known him forever. I know everyone knows the story. You guys are in Fargo like 200 pounds apart or whatever it was, 150 at least. But, but I've known Don forever. Okay.
Yep.
And when I watch you guys wrestle, you have a ton of close matches. But the one thing that I've seen about you in all your matches is, well, 2 things. One, you can go the whole 6 minutes. It doesn't matter if the guy's bigger. And 2 is you can get to the legs. you can always get to the legs. You don't always finish. Nobody always finishes, but you can always get yourself in a position to win the match.
Mhm.
And you function, your attack rate is really high, especially for a 125. I think your attack rate was fairly normal for a 92 or 97, but
Yep.
your clip is so much higher at 125. I don't think guys are used to fighting off a scoring position every 30 to 45 seconds. I think they're used to fighting one off, maybe one or two a period.
Yeah.
So that was my reasoning. And maybe I had nothing to do with it, but I ended up being right. So
no. I think it's spot on. I think that was an advantage for me. Even just talking about when we were moving up to heavyweight, that's an advantage towards me. Even though I'm a small heavyweight, sometimes size a lot of times matters too. But like you said, being able to push the pace and go the whole 6 minutes and being able to score or get to the legs and be able to score whenever is definitely an advantage. And definitely it was kind of a reason why I decided to move up to heavyweight last year. And I mean, a lot of it was I got pushed there with the Olympic year, but just the thought of going up instead of having to cut a bunch of weight to go down. I've been in a wrestling room of heavyweights a lot. I've Tony Nelson, Gable Stevenson. There's a lot of guys that, Brand. Yep. So it's just like, it's crazy, So I wrestle that style quite a bit, and just off of years of experience in wrestling. And yeah, it's kind of an advantage towards me a little bit when it comes to that. Absolutely.
So, for example, like you're not cutting weight, Quiz isn't cutting weight, right? I mean, that part's the same, right? But how much of a jump was it for you? Because Quiz hasn't been cutting weight, for a long time, since he was a freshman in college, right? And you've been cutting weight up till probably 13 to 16 months ago. And now all of a sudden you can eat whatever you want and you don't have to look at the scale. Like it's just sort of like this one part of your stressors are completely gone in the wind. How mentally and physically healthy was that for you?
Yeah, absolutely. It was huge, it takes kind of an element out of it or a stressor out of it. You go to a tournament and it's a little bit different, and I think some people are a little different where they have to lose that little bit of weight till they start feeling good. And I just naturally, I'm kind of lean as it is. And I naturally just kind of, always in good shape. I go a lot. I work a lot of little projects, and I'm always on the move, and I'm a grinder, so I always go. But definitely not worrying about that weight. It's huge. For me, it's just was kind of a just one thing off my plate, and it worked out.
Well, before we jump onto something else, you talked about the size. Like I read an article in Win that you're about 2.25 walking around. Is that fairly accurate?
Yeah. Yep.
So I think what a lot of people maybe make, like you could get to 250, but I think if you got to 250, it'd be very difficult to add 25 pounds of muscle. You're just adding 25 pounds of probably fat, frankly, because it can only be one of two things. And then I don't think that makes you stronger. I think it just makes you slower. And the advantage you have is being really strong and being fast. I think probably the only thing to be an advantage would be probably a lot easier to get a gut wrench on you right now because your waist is a lot smaller. But
yeah.
But like I don't think like the really good heavyweights, a lot of them are these guys that wrestled lower weights for a lot of times, like all the way back to like the Tommy Rollins of the world.
Yeah.
Like you look at like David Taylor, he was 103 pounder as a freshman, and now he's wrestling 189, give or take, but he can still wrestle a lot like a little guy. So I mean, I don't think adding weight just for the sake of adding weight is good. It would do you any good, would it?
No, I don't think so. I think I'm on the same page as you. Just and that's kind of where I was. I was trying to put on as weight as much as I could, but like my diet's kind of crazy. I've been trying to eat 5,000-6,000 calories, and
nice.
So, but I mean, like I said, I work hard. I'm always on the go and I'm always on the move. So if I don't hit that, I'm kind of losing weight throughout the week. But yeah, like I mean, I definitely feel like putting on 10 more pounds for me would be beneficial. But like you said, I think it's got to be that good weight and getting muscle, not fat, trying to slow me down or anything like that. I'm not really about that either, just for just my health reasons, too. But but I definitely agree. Throwing on bad weight definitely wouldn't be my style and an advantage towards me. I think I got to use my strengths and what I have, and we'll just kind of build and grow off that.
Yeah, I think like this is a long time ago, but when I was high school, I jumped 13 pounds. Like, I wrestled a weight. I wrestled that weight that summer. My dad kept me out of the gym for like 3 weeks, and I just grew. Like all the weightlifting for me, I don't look like you, but it stuck. And I went from being pretty slow at the weight class I was to being a little bit faster. So, the question is to me is like, so you wrestled Jaden. I remember wrestled him one year in Final X, right? And like he's really fast for that weight class. And and freaky talented and also just frankly really good at wrestling. And these heavyweights are different, right? Like I'm sure the push, pull, snap stuff is probably a little more intense, but you're not as worried about like somebody hitting like a left side sweep single that's world class as much as you are wrestling them. So like, what are the trade-offs that you feel like, hey, how do this guy, he might be bigger, but he's slower, and how do you mentally sort of adjust to that?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I've been training with those heavyweights forever. So it's kind of tactical a little bit too. It's a different strategy. It's almost a different wrestling match, where you're wrestling. When I was wrestling 92 kilos or 97 kilos, yeah, it's more of a speed game or, whatever, stuff like that. But, wrestling heavyweights for me, I can't just shake hands and blast in shots. They're going to crush me right away. I gotta get them moving or stepping or get them leaning or, things like that. So it's a different tactic. And, personally, I grew up a light guy. So when I was a freshman in high school, I weighed in at the Minnesota State High School tournament at 94 pounds. So I was tiny, but I had to wrestle like a small guy. I had low level attacks, had wrestled from space. And then, as I progressed, I graduated high school at 130 pounds, but I was still wrestling that way, still wrestling from space and still wrestling, quick shots, and quick shots were coming in on me and scrambling out of it, reattacks, stuff like that, and, as I grew and went through college, I started, putting on weight. So, once you get them those bigger weights, it's more of a hand fight too. You got to worry about the hand fight, and then all of those attacks definitely, they all fit into play. But at some point you're going to end up in that battle a little bit where maybe the light guys, they battle too super hard, but sometimes it's that speed can win, or stuff like that. They just got a lot more action. They're rolling around out there a little bit more crazy than the big guys. And but definitely moving up to heavyweight, no doubt. They hand fight hard. Sometimes wrestling like Dom or things like, or Gwiz, my neck's tired, those guys pulling on you, but they outweigh me by how much, and they're always grabbing me, and I'm like, sometimes they grab me and throw me one way and I fly across the mat or something like that. And I'm out there wrestling. I'm like, I kind of laugh about it a little bit, like, holy cow, that was crazy,
Yeah.
that guy could do that to me, but it's absolutely no. But I think those quick attacks for me personally are our advantage, and learning how to do them.
Yeah, you can tell you're a guy that had a little guy skill set, right? And you blossomed as a human being. But like there's obviously different styles in different weight classes. And again, I think it goes back to like I've never done the quants, but I'm sure people have studied like the average attack rate at say 57 kilos versus 125 kilos. And I don't know that it would necessarily be like a straight line. It gets less. I mean, but I guarantee you there's more shots fired at 125 than there is at 275. And there's more probably time touching at 125 than there is versus 57 where there's more space and stuff like that. So it's interesting that you had to either consciously, well, I'm sure subconsciously, but consciously go, okay, I got to hand fight more. I can't just shoot to be shooting. Like I'm going to get punished more because these guys are so much heavier. I got to get them tired, like you said, stepping, leaning, stuff like that. So one of the things that's interesting to me is, I think you'd have to live under a rock to not know this. Obviously, Gable's the Olympic champion, right? And you guys were all a part of that journey. Like, I think that's very cool. Like, I'm assuming, like, this guy's your teammate, and he goes and wins an Olympic gold medal in literally the most theatrical way possible, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like no
Crazy.
time on the clock, you know. John Smith is coaching him from, from the booth,
Yeah,
Hagen's going crazy, the whole thing.
unbelievable.
In a weird way, did that give you some confidence to be adjacent to that and to see, okay, this is what it takes? And, obviously Gable's an otherworldly athlete and guy, but like, to me, it always felt like this, the closer you can get to greatness, the less far away it seems. Like it's closer to, I think I can do that too, kind of thing.
Absolutely, no doubt. Just the mentality in the room and how we train and just the talks that we have, and just that's the goal. And I think, seeing that and being a part of that and helping him out and training with him is definitely just going to raise the bar, where he can go out and he can win, and we're all super greatly, proud of him, and we're all part of that, and we're all going crazy, over the match, and just like, then I get an opportunity to go try win a world title now, and it's kind of a part of it, where, if we're talking about it and we're making mistakes, we're gonna talk about it, and we're gonna help each other out, and we expect each other to win, so it's definitely turns into a mentality, and we have all those people in the room that are striving for greatness and striving to be the best, and we get to just kind of all hop on the bandwagon and go after it and get our hand raised. And, and if we don't, we got to go back to the drawing board and figure it out where we went wrong, or how we get, how we're going to get better. And it's amazing. It's definitely helped me a ton. And just being around that Olympic champion, I don't know, post life is amazing. It's awesome, and it's definitely something that we all need to strive for. And he's a good role model for it, so he does an amazing job, like we wrestled this week, and we're training together and getting better, and he's teaching me, and he's giving me knowledge, and I'm helping him. And yeah, it's just awesome.
Yeah, obviously you were his training partner during that Olympic time period, and now he's sort of your training partner. Did he have any specific advice on wrestling Gwiz? Because obviously he had to beat Gwiz to make the team, and they've got a ton of history wrestling each other. Or like, did you watch any film of him and like Gable and Gwiz wrestling or that kind of stuff, or how did that go?
No, I never did. I never watched any film with him, but I mean, we just talked about it. He knows how I can wrestle. We've trained together for how long, and a lot of his stuff is like, if you can go and wrestle like you're capable of, you're gonna be just fine. So
that means a lot, right? From when
that means
guys won it. Yeah,
that means a ton. Yeah, it means a ton. And it's just like we're instilling greatness in each other, and we're trying to push each other to limit. And he did the ultimate, win an Olympic gold medal, and I got to be able to follow that and watch that and be a part of it, and just we're striving to get better, and just being thankful for every day we get on the mat with each other. And it's like a chess match, maybe, and a lot of times it's a chess match for me too, where he's a beast, explosive, runs through shots, corners, whatever, and he wrestles small, but he's big, and a lot of times it's turns into a horsepower game for me, I'm like, I don't want to get caught up in the horsepower, just because I'm a lighter heavyweight, I'm just a smaller human being than him, and definitely it's an advantage for me. So, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, I think you've sort of described it. It's basically you guys are building or have built, but there's a culture there, right? And every successful program talks about culture. Like, hey, what are the expectations? What are we not going to tolerate? Like, I feel like nobody walks into that Minnesota room and just goes, I'm just going to light drill today. Like, no, not unless that was on. If we had matches scheduled, you're doing matches, or, if we had live goes scheduled, you're doing live goes unless you have a good reason not to. But we're going to work hard and we're going to get better.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I got some t-shirts just made, and me and Tony Nelson have this saying that it says light drill, and then we say tomorrow. Just after everybody gets it, so we go light drill, yeah, tomorrow. So so it's kind of an inside joke. But I know I got some t-shirts made for the World Championships, and actually picked them up today.
Nice.
And I think it says on the top, it says Belgrade today, light drill tomorrow.
Oh, those are awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be awesome. So it'll be pretty dang cool. But definitely what you're saying, it's we're there to push the pace and get each other better and grow for the day. And can't sometimes you take it for granted, but when you sit back and look at it, great things are happening and we're winning. So we're gonna keep after it.
So people have told me that you've got some really interesting hobbies. So tell me a little bit about that.
Oh yeah, I'm just a busy man. I'm a hunting, fishing fool. I get out in the woods. We do a little maple syrup in. We tap a bunch of trees. We boil all the sap down. I got a hunting dog. I'm all over her every day. We're training for a little bit. Sometimes she breaks me, and some days I break her. So, but yeah, it's kind of everything kind of gets played in there where we're always on the go and we're busy and we're planting gardens and we're kind of living the American dream a little bit.
I've never heard maple syrup as a verb. So tell me I know what hunting and fishing is. So my dad is an avid fisherman. Okay. I will tell you a very quick story. When I was 6 years old, we had these bamboo poles and we went down to this lake and my dad goes, okay, throw it in, threw the whole pole in. And the thing fills with water. I thought my dad was going to kill me. And my mom goes, you said throw it in. So that I know 2 hands, keep it on the pole, but tell me about what is maple syruping? Like you said, it's tapping trees, I guess.
Yeah. So, I don't know, a buddy of mine from back home, kind of was always talking about it, but then me and Tony Nelson would always go on the road and, we'd be whatever, we spent how many days out of the year together. And, we started talking about maple syruping. So, and he always tapped some trees. And then I was like, you know what? Fine. I'm going to get into it this year. We got a bunch of maple trees up northern Minnesota. My family's got a farm up there. And, so we went up there and, I tapped I think like 50 trees the first year, which was last year. And so it's kind of a crazy ratio. It's like 30-1. So 30 gallons of sap out of the tree makes 1 gallon of syrup.
Really?
Yep. Yeah. So it's a lot. It's a lot of work. So you get a little plastic tap is what I got. And I got a little hose that I run from the tap down into a bucket. And so I'm training down in the Twin Cities. So I only get maybe 1 day a week or something like that to get up there and I empty the buckets. So I got 5-gallon buckets with lids on it. So
you're doing Rocky training out there.
Rocky training. I know. We, it's going a bit of work, but it's a lot of fun, So
awesome.
So we get out there and we do that, and we but yeah, this year I ended up having 112 taps.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I went after it.
You're all in.
I went all in. Yeah, exactly. I went all in. So
wow.
Yeah, so we ended up with like almost like 40 gallons of syrup. So
wow,
we got a lot. Yeah, we did a lot of work, and I actually all my buddies and stuff like that are kind of invested in it too. So if I'm not around or something like that, they're there to help out and do that. And we're all invested. It's kind of a fun little hobby, and we get after it, alongside of fishing and hunting and stuff. But just kind of a springtime.
What do you hunt and what do you fish for?
Oh, well, I'm a kind of a crappie guy. I got a friend of mine who's I call him the crappie king. He's unbelievable. Like I'm invested in wrestling, and this guy's invested in catching crappies. And that's all he thinks about, and he's really good. So he kind of turned me on to it, kind of a couple years back. But I always grew up fishing walleyes and sunfish and northerns, and just kind of everything crappies. But we'd fish like crazy, all the time. And but yeah, so I kind of got turned on to the crappies a little bit. So I'm kind of a crappie guy too myself. From my buddy, he's kind of the king. But then we do a lot of whitetail hunting. We get after turkeys and we kind of get after it. And we do a lot of duck hunting. Like I said, I got a bird dog and she's 1.5. She'll be 2 this year. And last year she got 150 birds. So,
holy cow.
Yeah. So she got after it.
Wow. So you're serious about this?
Oh, I'm serious about it. I am. I'm all about it. I'm all in. I'm all invested in it. And I just kind of stay busy with it. So
it's
awesome. Kind of amazing. It's just like training wrestling, but training that dog is pretty amazing.
It's probably good for you mentally, right? Just to find something else that you're actually focused on during those times. Because we can all obsess about something if we think about it too much, right? And so it's like, hey, let's find something else to be committed to, but that I find enjoyment out of and isn't as stressful. Like if all 112 taps don't work, it's not the end of the world. If you don't catch every single fish or get every single whitetail or whatever, it's not the end of the world. It kind of gives you good perspective on things, I would guess.
Absolutely. No, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, it's just like wrestling, sometimes you win, sometimes maybe you lose, but you don't really lose. You're just learning, getting better. And, yeah, so like, just especially with the dog training and stuff like that, I take my dog to school. I try to go once a week, but, if I'm traveling or something, I don't get there, but it's kind of like we go to school. It's like a hunt simulation, and she does things good and she does things bad, and we get to work on it. And, her training is like, I don't know, maybe like 15 minutes a day or something like that, maybe twice a day or something, just something little, get her out there and make her do some crazy things that for a dog anyway. But, just breaking it down, it's almost just like coaching too.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a little break from wrestling, and I can kind of step back if the time's needed, and I got some hobbies to do. I'm not just sitting around, I'm after it. Yeah.
So to go back to the wrestling side of it, you obviously the goal isn't to make the team, right? Obviously the goal is to be the world champion. That puts you in Final X for the next year. Then the goal is to place again, be world champion, make the Olympic team. Obviously I think people understand that, but nobody's perfect, right? So what are the specific areas of improvement that you're going to work on between now and Belgrade? Because I always tell people it's like a reverse funnel, right? Like when you're young, there's like a gazillion matches. Everybody's wrestling at Tulsa 9 times a year. In high school, there's about 40, 50 match seasons, and then another 50 matches in the summer. College, the matches are becoming less and less, but it's still more than sort of the freestyle or Greco season. And then when you get to the top of the ladder, like you guys, you might wrestle 8, 10 matches in a year. And a lot of times, maybe 15 if you're going to like the ranking tournaments and stuff like that, but the number of dates dropped dramatically. So like, are you guys specifically working on like, say, leg lace proficiency, leg lace defense, gut wrench, winning on the edge, go behind? Like, what are specific things that you go, I'm good, but to be the best in the world, I need to work on X?
Yeah, absolutely. No, like you kind of said it, we're definitely, focused on top bottom game, getting better there. When I got to attack, my motion on my feet, things like that. I said before, I can't just shake hands and go out there and shoot underneath the big heavyweights. I got to have some strategic strategy there a little bit with my hand fighting and my motion. So yeah, we've just been playing with some different kind of hand fightings, making first contact, things like that I'm going to need for, the world championships. And it'll be kind of cool too. We're going to go to the training camps in Colorado Springs here. I leave on the 4th. And then I'll be there until the 10th, and, it'll be kind of good to get some other opinions on those guys. Watch those guys a ton. I've only wrestled, Gwiz in my international matches, because my only heavyweight international tournament was the Turkey tournament, and I only got one match. So, and I didn't get to wrestle any foreigner. Yeah. So, besides film and stuff like that, I haven't had that feel yet, which, hey, it's kind of an advantage to me also. They haven't felt me wrestle, and they're not in that spot. So, I think we're going to, just continue to get better in those certain areas, and, not hanging, not sitting, not allowing myself to kind of rise up, and maybe a big guy can attack on me, off of his kind of stuff, so just continuing to get better and staying disciplined in some of those areas.
So you mentioned a very specific thing, and like, I'm a wrestling nerd, and it's probably my favorite part of these podcasts, where I get to talk to guys and women that are at the top of the game. Right. And so you mentioned a phrase, first contact. And, I know a lot of times, like I was coached, like, hey, you don't go find the person with your hands, you find them with your feet. That way you don't get extended. Your elbows are in stance, those kind of things. What are some of the things that you've either been taught or some of the principles of first contact that are going to be super important for you at this level?
Absolutely. Like you said it, like you got to move your feet before you go. How many times we've all been taken down where we're just trying to reach at them or trying to get a hold of them. And next, bam, they're in our legs and they're kind of in we weren't ready for it. We weren't ready to sprawl or down block or get our hands in the way. So, definitely that's moving our feet to that position is huge, and I think controlling low and moving high, things like that, for definitely heavyweight, being able to, move side to side a little bit more. Same thing goes for like 97 kilos, stuff like that for me. But that's just little areas that you got to repetitively hit it. You can't just start thinking about it and just maybe practice it when you're wrestling live, but throughout all your drills, you're in your drills and every time you make first contact, you got to do that. You got to build a habit of it that when we're making contact, we're doing that, so throughout all my drills and stuff like that, we focus on things like that. Maybe we're changing levels of coming up. Maybe we're moving, circling side to side to get up. Maybe we're attacking low or, this little things like that, and just being disciplined and having a plan, but executing it, I don't know, 200-300 times in the practice. Maybe, if that's what the practice is, but definitely executing it throughout all your drills. And maybe if you hit 50 attacks in your warm-up drills, but you moved that first contact, made that first contact, moving your feet, you just got 50 good reps in. So I'm on. That's exactly a big thing for me.
You watch it a lot. It's a very subtle thing that if you watch, like if you're recruiting or you're looking for weaknesses, like in high school, and kids are getting better and better. So I mean, especially like Pinnacle Wrestling Club, which is up near you, like it's unbelievable how high class that coaching level is. I got to have dinner with Doug Paulson at Junior Duels. And for people that don't know, Doug is a legend and his son is Brandon, and Lawrence run Pinnacle, and all Mac Ryder and all those other guys that are there. So, but in general, let's just say this: when guys when athletes are younger, they tend to try to find out the other opponent with their hands. And especially if they're strong or athletic, it's like, okay, like you could make a lot of mistakes and still beat me, because once you grab me, like it's not going to go well for me. So
Yep.
Go ahead.
Oh, yep. No, you can finish.
Okay. So, I mean, but as you get older and the competition gets better, those mistakes get exposed. And you see people that are like, they're reaching with their lead leg and lead hand, or they're reaching with both hands instead of just one. They're not ready to down block. They're not even mentally thinking about it. They're reaching with their thumbs over instead of under. So when you level change on them, that like there's no feel of that stuff. And it's very subtle when you see the correction, but the result isn't subtle. The result is significant.
Absolutely. No, for sure. I think a lot of times it comes back down to like the little basics of wrestling, even though it's a higher level, but a lot of times it's executing those basics and not coming out of position and being disciplined to stay in those positions. Especially when, like you said, if strength and strength's the same and, maybe talent level's the same, now it's kind of in a positioning battle where we're really trying to get our wrestler or opponent out of position, and then we can attack. And, sometimes it only might be 1 or 2 times a match. And we're so disciplined in that where we really need to, just kind of focus on that stuff. But, definitely a key to a lot of those guys' success, and especially you're bringing up Paulson and Lawrence. They hammer that stuff. They're amazing. They definitely they got a good core group of kids where they're consistently there learning and getting better, and they can all get together and they can, practice what we're just talking about.
That's I got to visit that room, the same visit I met you. And you talk about culture, and I think energy is a word that goes right along with culture, right? Like,
absolutely.
And the energy in that room was super positive. There was no arrogance, but there was an expectation of excellence. There was an expectation of training hard, training efficiently, paying attention, not just going through the motions, but actually trying to improve. And it's no wonder that high school kids are doing so well, like at the age group, world, and national level, but also that they can jump to college and make an immediate impact. I mean, I'm older than you, but I remember like at my age, like freshman All-American in college was like crazy. Like, nah, you got a red shirt, take a beating for a year. And then, I mean, it's not that it never happened, but it was way more rare than it is now.
Absolutely. No, for sure. And like you said, they have that expectation in that room, and it's awesome. So we for our strength training, we train out of their it's a different organization, but it's in the same building. It's a Body Rejuvenation.
Okay.
And yep. So, and I maybe you met those guys. It's just right there. And
Yeah.
Josh McLean, he's the kind of the head trainer there, and he's a physical therapist out of there, and he runs his practice out of there. And then Lucas Murray, he's kind of our guy right now. He runs us through a lot of the daily, well, a couple days a week, get in there, and he just kind of puts the beating on us, and but yeah, and we go kind of outside to get our strength training and stuff like that. And it's kind of the same, it's the same expectation. They go hand in hand with each other, and they train with each other. And, it's really, they really got something special there. They're like you said, they're preparing these guys for college. So maybe they don't have to take a redshirt year. They're already taking their beatings, and they're improving, and they're teaching at a fast and high level, and kids are definitely improving, and it's showing.
Yeah. The expectation is, look, like, catch up. Like, we're not going to slow down for you. Like, just because you skip practice, we're not going to go back. Like, there's a progression, there's a chain, there's a series, and you better double up somewhere along the way and catch up, because this thing isn't going to make sense otherwise, and then they're not mean about it. It's just like, look, this is the path to excellence, and you got to be a part of it. So, one of the things that we've kind of touched on, but I want to give you a few minutes to talk about. You mentioned Nelson, Agam, Brandbold, Gable, Dustin Schlater, and I had talked to Dustin on an earlier podcast about how good your RTC is top to bottom in terms of having like a nationally ranked guy at almost every weight, especially when it's only the 6 weights, and 10, it's a little tougher, but still, like, vast majority of the weights. And, in some ways you remind me a little bit of like Dom Parrish out at Sunkist. Like, she was not the number one for a while. And they said, I talked to Pritz out there, and he said it took her a while mindset wise to believe she could be the number one, because there was so much excellence. And sometimes that excellence can almost be stifling if you look at it the wrong way. Like, man, when am I ever going to get to the top of the food chain? The other side of it, we've talked about the positive is, man, I know exactly where the top of the food chain is and what I got to do to get there. But, and then you also mentioned like Steiner, who's, obviously the newest part of that crew, but comes there with a ton of credentials and things like that. Just, I guess, tell people or myself like about that staff and how they've made a difference in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we have an amazing staff. Yeah, top to bottom, you listed it. Agam, Brandvold, Steiner, Dustin, Tony Nelson, Gable. We got all we got a solid core group. Even Luke Becker, Zach Sanders in there too. We have a crazy staff. We're striving for excellence, and like you said, it took me a while to figure it out. I've made national teams, and I've been right there knocking at the door, and just instilling that belief and not giving up and not quitting and always getting better is definitely a part of it, where they're instilling that into me too. Sometimes you don't have the matches that you want and or the tournament that you wanted, but just getting back to the practice room, and you have a great coaching staff that can help you kind of get over some stuff and help you out, and instilling that belief in you is definitely a key. So and like I said, for me, we kind of did like a little outside strength conditioning stuff too, which definitely helped out a ton. Just added to the fire, these guys really pushed the crap out of us, and they beat us up, and it's a lot of it's conditioning is the big thing. It's like a max lifting conditioning is kind of how it goes, and it's special to them, and it's his own style of training, and definitely helped me out a ton too, and just another level of confidence that is built up in there, where I can go into a strength training, and it's super tough, and I'm maybe want to break and I want to quit or something like that, but I push through it and get through it. And next, we're going to practice, And it's the same thing, you know, where maybe you don't want to run through an attack and finish a shot with 30 seconds left, but you know, they're on you to do it, and that's the expectation. And we practice it so much instead of maybe, you know, just you quitting in that 30 seconds, but it's just practice. But you know, just instilling that belief in you too every day, in and out, and constantly getting reminded of it is definitely huge. And you know, our coaching staff's amazing, where we can do that stuff. It's perfect.
Yeah. And the other thing that I think that a lot of coaches, I mean, I think as people are getting better, they're figuring it out, but like, I'm sure you're going to have some training cycles, right? Like, I mean, you mentioned like lifting as heavy as you can and probably lifting to failure, probably like literally getting in goes like shark bait where you're like like if we do it long enough where I could jump in and beat you, you know, that kind of thing, you know, because you're just gone so many times. But you're obviously not going to do that the day before you get on the plane to Belgrade. Like there's these cycles, and you peak and you rest, and you know, so you know, maybe just tell us a little bit about how you see the cycles going for you prior to the Worlds.
So I'm actually wrestling the Tunisia tournament, so I'll head out there and I'll compete. So we kind of, after Final X, we kind of took a little time, not a lot of time, but you know, just a couple, you know, week or so of just kind of my own training. I can do whatever I want. I'm kind of I like to work out, and if I don't work out, I feel guilty, and I kind of, I don't know, whatever the endorphins are that come with working out, I'm all over them. They're all about me. So, and I'm always kind of that guy, you know, that brings the fire. So, yeah, so I got a little bit of time off, and then we're kind of built back into wrestling a little bit, where it was nothing like too crazy, too strenuous, like not a lot of live, but a lot of drills and you know, good habits and things like that. And then yeah, kind of this week we're really amping it up a little bit, and a little bit of last week, but just kind of a little cycle leading up to the Tunisia tournament. But then, you know, after that, definitely going to have some cycles where we're going to push the pace and back off a little bit. And, you know, our training's going to be a little different, and everybody's going to be on the same page, and we're just going to kind of get better, you know, which was amazing, you know, with this year's schedule, where I wrestled the Bill Farrell, and then we went to the US Open, and then it was the trials, and then it was the Final X, which, you know, I could kind of like, hey, what made me feel good? What got me better? You know, where was I at? You know, just a little plan like that. And, you know, definitely kind of mimic that kind of stuff, and how we were training from there, you know. So, like, you know, in the weight room, definitely, you know, highs and lows, heavy weights, or, you know, heavy lifting stuff, back into some speed strength stuff, you know, just being quick, crisp, ready to go. And definitely practice will be longer, you know, at some points, and then back off a little bit where they're a little bit more feeling good, getting crisp, definitely leading up to Serbia.
Randy Couture told me this story, and I think it's sort of in a nutshell. He said he was on one trip, and they were USA and Russia was in the same building, whatever. And it's like 2 days ahead of time. And he's like, we were doing live, like 45 minutes goes. And he goes, and those guys are over there just playing soccer.
Yeah. Yeah.
He goes, you know, we thought they were crazy. And he goes, and they thought we were crazy. He goes, and then we wrestled them and we were all exhausted, and, you know, they were fresh. And I think that there's the whole idea that less is more is not new, right? Like, you know, but I think as a coach, sometimes you feel like I'm older than you. So if I said, hey, I got to do something to make Hayden better today. So I either got to show him something, I got to read something to him, we got to work on a technique, I got to push him. And sometimes it's, hey man, you're going to be the best in the world. You know, let's not light drill today, not tomorrow. You know?
Yeah.
And, you know, just get your mind and body right and get you healthy. You know, the hay is in the barn. You know, at this point, you've done what you need to do. And I think that's hard for coaches to kind of step off the gas. And, you know, you've got some hard driving coaches up there, but they still see the value in doing that, right?
Oh, absolutely. I know. And I'm always one that they're telling me like, hey, like, you're not doing nothing this weekend, or you're not going out for a run this weekend. You're not going to do something crazy this weekend, you know, strenuous on your body, you know, like, we're relaxing right now. We're getting ready for the tournament. We're peaking. So they're all over me on that kind of stuff. They're always telling me, kind of my layout, my plan and stuff like that. Cause they know sometimes I'll overdo it. And I kind of am the one that doesn't want to lay off the gas because I'm feeling good. I'm ready to go. But maybe a lot of times that's because I was laid off a little bit and now I'm starting to feel good and I'm ready to go get after it.
I think that's where a coach can be really valuable, right? Like you're sort of the dream guy to coach, the guy that I got to get him to work less hard, right? I mean, like most, people, I mean, you said you coach, I'm sure you have kids that are really hard workers. And then, it's the law of averages. You got a few kids at the end of the bell curve that don't want to work hard. And those are the ones it's hard to make them better because if they don't want to get better, you can't make them better.
Yep, absolutely.
You're the other side of the bell curve. We're like, look, man, we need to pull that guy back. But I think, I feel like hopefully I was that guy back when I was wrestling. And if somebody you trust says, you're good, man, you can take the day off. It's almost like now you can do it and not do it with guilt. Like it was on your own. You're like, I better run. I better lift. I better spar. I better do something. And so I think that's a really good lesson for coaches to learn. Like when you have these type A personalities, when you have the hardest workers in the room, sometimes you got to literally say to them, not only dial it back, but you're good. Like you're not falling behind today. You're actually getting ahead by letting your body recover.
Absolutely. And I think that comes with instilling trust and belief in your coach. If you can, like you said, like if you can really believe that and you believe that your coach is right, but it does take ease off you. It takes a weight off your chest or off your back. Just like, yep, I need to take a day off, or I need to not do this extra workout. Or if I don't have to go for a run to lose weight or something like that, I don't need to, which, for me, with going back to weight cutting, that took that out of it for me, and I think a lot of, high school kids and kids that I coach, they don't see that. Sometimes they're like, we got to cut a bunch of weight or things like that. And maybe that weight cut or something like that's hurting them, or maybe a little bit less, and maybe just focusing on, technical areas instead of maybe a weight loss or weight cutting is definitely going to help them. Next thing you know, they go out and they excel and they win and they're having more fun and they get to, show what they're really made of.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to end it. I do want you to get a chance. These shirts, are you selling them as a fundraising thing?
Yeah. Yep. I am.
So where can people find them?
So we're working on the website. I actually got a message while we're doing this, but I'm working on the website with it. And then hopefully I can get them out to you. I got a bunch of them just made. But the website will be good because then they can send around the country. But if I don't know when this will be aired, but when we can.
This will be aired in mid-July.
So. Oh, okay. Yeah. So then definitely with the, just getting, on the website and stuff like that, I could send it out and maybe we can get the link on there and we can sell, get them out there. And
we can definitely put it up with the description. So we're always here to help. The whole point of this podcast is to help the people that watch, but also help the people that are on it. So the least we can do is help you out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So listen, it's been a pleasure, man. I'm pretty good friends with Becker. He always helps me whenever I need stuff. And, he told me you'd be a great guest and you've been great. It's, I didn't have a dog in the fight on who made the team. You'd rather be right than wrong, but I don't really know Gwiz any better than I knew you, but your performance was super impressive, man. And, you seem like just a genuinely easy person to root for. So I just want to say congratulations. I think for most of us in the general public, really well done.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So for Hayden Zillmer, I'm David Mirikitani. Thank you guys for watching and listening. We'll speak to you all next week.